Correspondent Jack Parrick, who's in Berlin. A very good afternoon to you, Jack. Now, exciting times for both nations. The two leaders have met and announced their resolutions, but tell us briefly what agenda was in today's meeting between the two leaders.
Good afternoon. Indeed, it was an exciting meeting, and there was a certain sense of pageantry and show about this meeting. The two leaders very keen to make it clear that their relationship is strong and that the relationship between South Africa and Germany remains strong, not only trade-wise, and it is a huge trade relationship, but also politically. Now, they spoke about the trade issues, about deepening, about potentially training Germany, helping South Africa train skilled workers in the industries that Germany invests in. They spoke about as we heard Jacob Zuma say just earlier, about Germany's investment potentially in the ocean trade. And they also exchanged notes on the refugee crisis. The UN pointed out recently that South Africa is dealing with more refugees, more than the 3 million that the European Union is expected to have to deal with this year alone. So South Africa is a country that Germany certainly wants to speak to when it comes to a refugee crisis like this.
Look, Jack, if you can just help our viewers understand, what we mean by the phrase that South Africa is Germany's biggest trade partner in the African continent.
So the relationship between Germany and South Africa is enormous. Germany has got 600 companies in South Africa, predominantly in the automotive industry. 2% of South African GDP is thought to be produced by the car maker BMW. But it's also extremely important for Germany to have a country on the African continent that they can rely on, being such a high specification manufacturing country, that they can rely on the South African skills. It's pretty much the only country on the African continent that the Germans trust to make their high-end cars. And German investment, as far as the car industry goes, is a get for any country. Everybody wants a piece of it. South Africa, at the moment, although there have been some questions on investor relations internationally, is still considered a really sound investment. And the Germans have had a long trading relationship with South Africa in that nature, and they want that to continue. And obviously, it's extremely positive back at home in South Africa.
Look, Jack, before I let you go, going further in strengthening this relationship, did you hear anything about what possible future investments that the two countries could be engaging in?
So the main thing that the South Africans are pushing for is this ocean development. South Africa is obviously an incredibly important mineral exporting country, as many African nations are. So they want Germany to be involved in that. But as I mentioned earlier, they want the German government to help them train skilled workers. Basically, the idea is that if Germany invests and places big manufacturing factories in South Africa, then they should take a share of helping to train the workers that work in those factories, rather than just allowing South Africa to do so. Clearly, in South Africa, with high levels of youth unemployment, this would be incredibly positive for Germany to help in that way. And President Jacob Zuma's kind of main political thrust has always been job creation. So he'll be looking to Germany to help him for further investments to try and deepen those ties. Clearly, they only had an hour or so of discussions, as many of these state visits they have to make many courtesy calls to lots of different dignitaries. But that's the thrust of the meetings, and that's what further down the ministerial delegations will be discussing. How can they push for smaller businesses to start exporting into Germany, for instance, from South Africa, and how can they train people in South Africa to make sure that there's a bolstering of the economy?
Thanks for that. That's Jack Parrick, our correspondent in Berlin, taking us through the meeting between President Jacob Zuma and Angela Merkel of Germany, seeking to strengthen those trade relations between the two countries.